It's appalling. It's absolutely appalling. And it has to be called out in the strongest possible terms and condemned. I was there at Wembley last night. I could see what that meant for the players losing. I could see what it meant for everybody in the ground and everybody across the country. And this team have been brilliant role models on and off the pitch. They've had the courage to call out racism and stand up for equality. And they've shown real leadership. Gareth Southgate and the team have shown real leadership. And this is about leadership. And I'm afraid the Prime Minister has failed the test of leadership because whatever he says today about racism, he had a simple choice at the beginning of this tournament in relation to the booing of those that were taking the knee, the players that were taking the knee. And they made it clear why they were taking the knee. The Prime Minister failed to call that out. And the actions and inactions of leaders have consequences. So I'm afraid the Prime Minister's words today ring hollow. Leaders' actions and leaders' words and leaders' inactions have consequences. And the Prime Minister had a very simple choice at the beginning of the competition. Did he call out the booing of the players taking the knee? And they were clear, we're standing against racism. The very thing we're discussing today, we're standing for equality. And the Prime Minister failed to call out the booing. So whatever he says today rings hollow. And like all football fans, I stand with Rashford, Sancho and Saka today on this really important issue. Look, leadership matters. What's the one thing people are saying about Gareth Southgate? Leadership. What's the one thing they're saying about the team? Leadership. What that team, that manager have done is shown leadership through what they've said and what they've done. We've not seen that from the Prime Minister. It was a simple choice, not a difficult choice, by the way. No true fan boos their team for taking the knee, standing up against racism and for equality. No true fan does that. The Prime Minister, at the very beginning of the competition, had the opportunity to call that out, and he failed to do so. And that's why his words today, I'm afraid, ring hollow. Well, I say what I said at the beginning of the competition, which is you don't boo your team for taking the knee before the ball's even been kicked in the competition. I've been an England fan all my life. I've been going to England games all my life. And I know that you support the team, you get behind the team, particularly when they're taking an important stand against racism and against abuse. And what I want to see now is the police given the space to follow up on their investigations. I want to see much stronger action on online harm. We've been waiting for years for a bill that the government says is coming but still hasn't come. We've got to be more serious about tackling this. But this is about leadership. This team, I think, sort of personifies the very best of Britain, modern Britain in all its diversity. They have shown us what it's like to lead on and off the pitch. I'm afraid the Prime Minister hasn't. The players were very clear about what they were doing. They said this is against racism and it is for equality. And that should be applauded, that should be supported, and people shouldn't be ambivalent about this. The Prime Minister shouldn't have sat back. He should have called out the booing, because if you boo players who are taking a stand against racism, then you end up where we are today. And, you know, there are consequences. If you're a leader, there are consequences of what you do, and there are consequences of what you don't do. And the Prime Minister has failed this test of leadership. I want the Prime Minister to understand that he made a mistake in not calling out those that were booing players for taking the knee. And I want to hear him say in positive terms what he's going to do about it now, one of which is to bring forward the legislation on online harms, let the police get on with their job. But this is about values. That team, and Gareth Southgate showed values. The Prime Minister hasn't. He should have called out the booing. He didn't. That was a choice. He knew what he was doing. There was a big debate about it at the time. He didn't call it out. There are consequences, I'm afraid, of his inaction, which mean his words today ring hollow.